My beloved child, come and sit with me. There is a deep and a quiet sorrow in your heart, a sorrow that we must speak of today. There was a time, perhaps long ago, when you felt the warmth of my love for you as a constant and a palpable reality. You felt it like a bright and a beautiful sun shining upon your face, bringing with it a sense of joy, of security, and of infinite worth. But a long and a difficult winter has come into your soul. The days have grown short. The air has grown cold. And now, when you look for that sun, you can no longer find it. In its place, mates, you feel only a profound, a desolate, and a bone-chilling coldness. You have looked at the landscape of your recent life, at the long and deafening silence from the heavens, at your own persistent and often humiliating struggles. And from this painful evidence, you have drawn a devastating conclusion. You have come to believe that my affection for you has waned. You have feared that my delight in you has been replaced by a quiet disappointment. You have, in the most secret and guarded places of your heart, feared that my love for you, like so many other loves you have known, has begun to grow cold and to fade away. The world you live in has taught you this tragic and a broken lesson. It has taught you that love is a fickle and a fragile thing, an emotion that comes and goes based on performance, on feeling, and on circumstance. And you have, understandably, projected this broken human model of love onto me, your eternal God. You have looked at your own unanswered prayers, your longings that have been met with my silence, and you have seen this as the evidence of my growing indifference, the cold shoulder of a friend who no longer truly cares. You have looked at your own persistent failures, your stumbles into the same old sins, your weaknesses that you cannot seem to overcome. And you have seen this as proof that you have finally and completely exhausted my patience and my grace. You have said to yourself, with a heavy and a shamed heart, how could a holy God continue to love someone like me, who continues to fail him in the same ways? You have measured my love for you by the fragile and fluctuating scale of your own performance. You have looked at your long and brutal season of suffering, and you have thought, with a logic born of pain, if my Father truly loved me, if he truly delighted in me as his child, he would not allow me to suffer like this for so long. You have seen your great trial as undeniable proof that you have fallen out of my favor, that I am no longer protecting you, no longer cherishing you. You have felt like an unloved child, left to fend for yourself in a harsh and a cruel world. And you have looked at the lives of others. You have seen them seemingly living in the full and glorious sunshine of my favor. You have seen their answered prayers, their public victories, their overflowing joy, and you have compared their bright and beautiful summer to your own long, cold, and desolate winter. And this painful comparison has cemented the terrible lie in your heart: he must love them more. Whatever limited supply of love he once had for me has now been transferred to them, the ones who are more faithful, the ones who are more worthy. And this has been the source of a profound and almost unbearable loneliness. The feeling of being on the outside of my love, looking in. But my beloved child, in all of this, you have been trying to understand an infinite, an eternal, and a divine love through the small, dark, and distorting lens of your own human experience and your own painful circumstances, you have mistaken the necessary and purposeful change in my methods for a change in my heart. You have mistaken my deep and patient work in you for a shallow and a human lack of feeling. You have feared that my love for you has faded, but I have come to you today to speak a truth over you that is more powerful than your feelings, more real than your circumstances, and more lasting than the heavens themselves. I have come to tell you that the love I have for you will never fade. The coldness you have felt has been real. The sense of distance you have experienced has been a true and a painful thing. But that coldness and that distance have never been on my part. They have been the product of the thick, cold fog of your own pain, your own fear, and your own profound misunderstanding of my nature. For I have never moved. I have never changed. I have never turned away from you, not for a single instant. You have felt my love grow cold in the seasons of my silence. But the truth is, my love for you is so secure and so confident that it did not need to be constantly proven with noise and with activity. You have felt my love diminish with every one of your failures. But the truth is, your failures have only ever served to attract a greater and a more powerful wave of my grace and my compassion toward you. You have felt that my love was absent in the midst of your suffering. But the truth is, my love was never more present, never more active, and never more tender than in the moments when I was sitting with you in your pain, holding you, sustaining you, and weeping with you. You have felt that my love is a limited resource that you have, through your own failings, used up. But the truth is, my love for you is an infinite and eternal, an artesian ocean that can never, ever be depleted. And now that you have understood that your feelings have been an unreliable and a misleading measure of my love, we must now speak of the true, the eternal, and the unchanging source of my love for you, so that you may never again doubt its absolute and its joyful permanence. We must now speak of my own eternal nature. You have now heard my great and foundational promise. The love I have for you will never fade. But I know your heart, and I know the question that this promise immediately raises within you. You ask, with a sincerity born of long and painful experience, but how can this be? How can I be sure? How do I know that your love will not fade in the future, when my own failures have surely caused it to fade in the past, to give your soul an unshakable and an eternal security? You must now come to understand the very source and the divine nature of my love for you. For my love is not a feeling that I have. It is the very essence of who I am. In your human experience, love is a beautiful, a powerful, but an often unpredictable and a fragile emotion. It can be hot and passionate one day, and cool and distant the next. It can be present and strong in a season of peace and happiness, and it can vanish completely in a long and difficult season of trial. You have seen human love fade. You have perhaps experienced it in your own heart, and so you have, quite logically, concluded that my love for you must be a far greater and a more powerful version of the same fragile thing and immense, but an ultimately changeable emotion, and you have lived in the constant, quiet fear that one day you would finally do something so terrible or fail so profoundly that this great emotion of my love for you would finally be extinguished forever. But my beloved child, this is the great and the glorious misunderstanding that has been the source of all your insecurity. I do not just have love for you, I am love. It is not an attribute that I possess, like a man possesses strength or wisdom. It is the very substance of my eternal and uncreated being. My Apostle John, writing under the full inspiration of my Spirit, declared this most profound and simple of all truths: God is love. He did not write that God is loving. He wrote that I am love. To ask if my love for you can fade is to ask if I can cease to be myself. It is a divine and a logical impossibility. My love for you is not a fluctuating and an unpredictable emotion. It is the constant, the steady, the brilliant, and the unchangeable fire of who I am. To help you grasp this eternal truth, let me give you some pictures from my own creation. Think of the great sun that I have placed in the center of your solar system. Does the sun have to try to be hot? Does it have to work hard each morning to produce its light? No. Heat and light are the very essence of what it is to be a star. The sun cannot stop being hot any more than it can stop being the sun. Its heat and its light are constant and effortless and a natural radiation of its own being. And so it is with my love. My love for you is the constant, the thermonuclear fire of my own divine being. And it is, and has always been, radiating toward you with an unceasing power and warmth. There have been seasons, I know, when the thick, dark clouds of your circumstances, or of your own sin and doubt, have completely blocked your perception of my warmth. You have stood on the earth, shivering in the cold and the darkness, and you have concluded that the sun itself must have grown cold or has been extinguished. But all the while, high above the temporary clouds, the sun has been burning for you with the same eternal and unchangeable intensity. My love for you has never, for a single moment, wavered. Only your perception of it has. Think of the difference between a shallow, surface-level well and a deep, artesian well. Human love is like a shallow well. It is dependent entirely on the external rains of affection, of good performance, and of pleasant circumstances. If the rain stops, if the performance falters, if the circumstances become difficult, the shallow well will quickly and inevitably run dry. And you have feared that my love is like this. But my love for you is not a shallow well. It is a great and a mighty artesian well. And the source of an artesian well is not on the surface. Its source is a deep, a vast, and an unseen underground river, buried deep within the eternal bedrock. And the water in an artesian well rises to the surface, not by being pumped, but by the constant and the powerful pressure from its own inexhaustible source. My love for you is like this. Its source is not in you. It is not dependent on the rain of your love for me or of your good performance. Its source is deep within the eternal bedrock of my own joyful and self-sufficient being. It is a love that generates itself. It flows out of the infinite abundance of my own nature. And therefore, my child, it can never, ever run dry. You do not have to do anything to earn it or to sustain it. You must simply learn to drink from a well that will never be empty. Think of the force of gravity in your world. You do not see it. You do not, on most days, even feel it. But it is a constant, a powerful, and an unbreakable law of my creation that is, at this very moment, holding your entire world together. It is the unseen force that is keeping you from spinning off into the cold and empty void of space. You do not have to feel gravity for it to be powerfully and faithfully at work in your life. So it is with my love. It is the divine and the spiritual gravity of the entire universe. It is the constant, the powerful, and the often unfelt force that is holding your entire life together. It is the force that has kept you from completely disintegrating in your darkest moments. My love is a foundational law of your new nature in me, not just a fleeting and an occasional feeling. And finally, you must understand that while my love is the very essence of my being, it is also my eternal and unshakable choice. In the everlasting covenant I have made with you through the precious blood of my own Son, I have made a sworn, a legal, and an eternal vow to love you. This is a promise that is based not on the fickleness of any emotion, either yours or mine, but on the unshakable and the eternal integrity of my own character and of my own holy word. A love that is based only on a feeling can easily fade, but a love that is based on a blood seal, covenantal promise, is a love that can never, ever be broken. Therefore, my beloved child, I am calling you now to a great and a foundational shift in your faith. You must, from this day forward, stop trying to build the house of your security on the shifting sands of your own feelings about my love for you, or on your perception of my feelings for you. Those things will change with the weather. Instead, you must now, by a conscious act of your will, begin to build your life on the unshakable bedrock of my eternal and unchanging character. Your ultimate security is not found in how you feel about me, or in how you think I feel about you. Your ultimate security is found in who I am, and I am love, the great. Central fire of my being will never be extinguished. The sun will not go cold. The artesian well will not run dry, and the gravitational pull of my heart toward yours will never cease. The love I have for you will never fade. It is the most certain, the most real, and the most permanent reality in all of creation. And now that you understand the eternal and unchanging nature of my love, we must now look at how this unfading love has operated in the very face of your own personal failures. You now stand on the firm and glorious foundation of this eternal truth. My love for you is not a fleeting human emotion, but the very unchanging and self-generating essence of my own eternal being. It is the sun that cannot grow cold, the artesian well that can never run dry. But I know, my child, the logical and painful question that this great truth immediately raises in your heart. You look at my perfect, holy, and unchanging love, and then you look at your own imperfect, unholy, and constantly changing life, and you ask, with a sincere and an honest heart, if you are so holy and your love is so pure, then what happens to that perfect love when it is confronted with my unholiness? What happens to your unfading love in the face of my repeated and often shameful failures? Surely, my sin must diminish your love for me. You have been trained your entire life. by the harsh logic of this fallen world, and even by a flawed and a legalistic understanding of my own holy law, to believe in a direct and an unbreakable equation that sin and failure must always result in a withdrawal of love and an infliction of punishment. You have looked at your own sin, your own stumbling, your own weakness, and you have, quite logically, concluded that it must have, at the very least, diminished my love for you. You have believed that every single one of your failures has put another degree of distance between us. You have feared that every sin has caused my Father's heart to grow a little colder, a little harder toward you. And so you have learned to hide from me in your shame, convinced that your constant failure has made you less and less lovable in my sight. But my beloved child, you have been operating under the broken laws of human relationships, not under the glorious and supernatural law of my grace. In a human relationship, failure does often repel love, but in my divine kingdom, your confess and your repentant failure does the very opposite. It acts as a powerful and an irresistible magnet, drawing the great, the compassionate, and the restorative ocean of my grace toward you. Your moments of greatest and most shameful failure have not been the moments where I have loved you the least. They have been the very moments where my love, in the powerful and beautiful form of my grace, has been most gloriously and most wonderfully demonstrated in your life. Your sin did not diminish my love. It magnified my grace. Let me show you how my unfading love operates in the very face of your failings. First, when you fail, I do not turn away from you. I run toward you. Your first and most deeply ingrained instinct when you have sinned is to run and to hide from me, just as your first parents, Adam and Eve, did in the cool of the day in the garden. You expect me, the holy God, to turn my back on you in disgust and in disappointment. You expect me to banish you from my presence. But remember again the beautiful story of the lost son, the story that is the perfect picture of my heart. When the loving father saw his son returning, while he was still a long way off, covered in the filth and the shame of the pigsty, did he turn his back in disgust? Did he cross his arms and wait for the son to grovel? No. The scripture says that he was filled with compassion, and he ran to his son. This, my child, is the unchanging posture of my heart toward you. The very moment you, in the midst of your failure, turn your heart and even slightly back toward me in a spirit of repentance, I do not walk away. I do not wait. I run. My love is a pursuing, a passionate, and a running love that races toward the repentant sinner, not away from them. Next, when I reach you, I do not condemn you. I cover you. You have expected to hear from me, in the aftermath of your sin, a voice of loud and angry condemnation. But the great and glorious victory of the cross has legally and eternally silenced that voice forever. My own son has already taken the full and the complete condemnation for all of your sins past, present, and future upon himself. Therefore, as my word declares with an absolute finality, there's now no condemnation for you who are in Christ Jesus. So when I, your Father, will run to you, and I find you sitting in the dust of your failure, I do not come to you with a list of your transgressions. I do not come to clothe you in the heavy and suffocating garments of shame. No, my first act is to take off your own filthy rags of self-effort and of sin, and to clothe you in the brilliant, perfect, and dazzlingly white robe of his righteousness. I do not expose your failure. I cover it. I cover it with my grace. I cover it with my forgiveness. And I cover it with the perfect performance of my own Son. You have believed that your sin is a force that is powerful enough to diminish my love. But this is to misunderstand the very nature of both sin and of love. My love is an eternal, an uncreated, and an all-consuming fire. And your sin, in comparison, is like a small, cold, and insignificant stone. What happens when a cold stone is dropped into the heart of a great and raging furnace? Does the great fire grow colder because of the stone? Of course not. The fire remains as intensely hot as ever, and it immediately begins its work of heating the cold stone, of changing it, of transforming it. My child, your sin does not have the power to change my love. My love has the divine and the glorious power to consume and to change your sin. Your failures do not reveal a lack of my love for you. They reveal the incredible, the unstoppable, and the unconditional nature of my love for you. And finally, you must know that I do not remember your sin. I remember my covenant. You are haunted by the perfect memory of all your past sins, but in the new covenant, a covenant that has been sealed with the very blood of my Son, I have made this glorious and mind-altering promise to you. I will forgive their wickedness and will remember their sins no more. When you come to me with a truly repentant heart, I, by a sovereign and a holy act of my divine will, choose to forget your transgression. I do not hold it against you. I do not keep a meticulous record of your wrongs to be brought up at a later date. I cast it into the depths of the sea of my forgetfulness. So when I look at you, my beloved child, I don't see the long and sorrowful list of your failures. I see the perfect and unbroken record of my own victorious Son. I see you as clean. I see you as righteous. I see you as holy, not because of what you have done, but because of what He has done for you. Therefore, I am now calling you to a new and a revolutionary response to your own failures. You must, from this day forward, stop running from me in your shame. And you must, with a new and a childlike confidence, learn to run to me in your repentance. You must begin to see your moments of failure not as a reason to hide from my presence, but as a fresh and a beautiful opportunity to experience. Once again, the overwhelming, the beautiful, and the life-altering power of my forgiving and my restorative grace. My arms are always, always open to a returning child. Your relationship with me is not a fragile and a conditional thing that can be broken by your daily failures. It is a rugged, a resilient, a powerful, an eternal covenant that has already, in the heart of your God, accounted for every single sin you will ever commit. The great, unchangeable, and foundational fire of my love for you has never and will never fade because of your performance. It is a constant. It is a given. It is the eternal foundation of your entire life. And now that you know, with a new and a settled certainty, how my unfading love responds to your failures, we must now speak of how this same love responds to your pain. You have now stepped into the glorious and liberating truth that my love for you is not a fragile human emotion, but is the very unchangeable and eternal fire of my own divine being. And you have seen how this unfading love has operated in the very face of your most shameful failures, how your sin has not repelled my love, but has only ever served to attract a greater and a more powerful wave of my compassionate and restorative grace. But I know, my beloved child, that there is another, and perhaps even more difficult, question that has been a great and a heavy stone upon your heart. For you have looked at the long, the desolate, and the often brutal season of your own suffering, and you have asked, with a voice raw with pain, what about this? What about my pain? If God truly loves me with an everlasting and an unfading love, why then has he allowed me to suffer so intensely and for so very long? You have feared, in the darkest hours of your night, that your great and prolonged trial has been the ultimate and irrefutable evidence that my love for you has, in fact, failed or has been withdrawn. We must now speak of the mystery of my presence in the midst of your pain. I know what you have thought and what you have felt in your deepest and most private moments of agony. You have thought, with a logic that is both human and understandable, if he truly loved me, he would not allow this to happen. If his great and powerful love was truly with me, I would not be in such pain. You have seen your suffering as the final and undeniable evidence against my love. It has felt like my abandonment. It has felt like my neglect. It has felt like me, your father, turning a blind and an uncaring eye to your suffering. And I tell you, this has been the single greatest and most severe test of your faith. But my child, in this, you have been viewing your suffering through the limited and flawed lens of a false theology, a theology that equates love only with the experience of comfort, of ease, and of the absence of all pain. But true, deep, powerful, and eternal love is not proven in the calm. It is proven in the storm. It is not demonstrated in the absence of suffering, but in its powerful and loving presence in the midst of suffering. And so I tell you a great and a glorious truth today that will begin to reframe your entire past. Your season of great trial was not a sign of my love's absence. On the contrary, it was the divine and holy crucible that I have used to prove, both to you and to all the watching powers of heaven and of hell, the profound, the unbreakable, and the all-enduring nature of my love for you. Your suffering revealed my love's endurance. Let me now show you how my unfading love was powerfully and actively at work for you in the very heart of your suffering. First, you must understand that my love is a co-suffering love, not a distant, observing love you have in your pain. Imagine me on a distant, golden, and untroubled throne, looking down upon your suffering from a place of perfect and sterile safety. But this is not the nature of my love for you. My love is an empathetic, an incarnational, and a compassionate love that does not stand far off, but that chooses to enter into the very pain of its beloved. When you were weeping in the night, I was weeping with you. When your heart was breaking from loss, my own Father's heart was breaking with it, as my prophet Isaiah declared. In all their affliction he was afflicted. This is an eternal truth of my character. I was not a distant and a clinical observer of your pain. I was your intimate and your heartbroken co-sufferer. I chose to sit with you in the ashes of your grief, and my divine presence with you was a silent, a sorrowful, and a holy companionship that your natural senses could not feel, but that your spirit was being sustained but all the same. Next, my love for you in your trial was a sustaining love, not just a rescuing love. I know that for years, you have been praying for a love that would rescue you from the fire. And you have thought that because the trial did not end, that my love must have failed. But I, in my infinite wisdom, was demonstrating a deeper, a more profound, and a more character-forging kind of love. I was demonstrating a love that would supernaturally sustain you in the fire. You must understand, my child, that the fact that you have survived your great trial is the ultimate proof of my love's sustaining power. The fact that your spirit was not utterly crushed. The fact that your mind did not completely shatter. The fact that a tiny ember of hope remained in your heart was not a testament to your own strength. It was the moment-by-moment miracle of my sustaining love, holding the very fabric of your being together when the forces of this world were trying to tear you apart. My love was the unseen manna that kept your spirit from starving in the wilderness. It was the hidden water from the rock that kept your soul from dying of thirst. The miracle of your trial was not that the trial ended. The miracle is that you have endured it. And you have endured it only because my sustaining love has been your secret strength. My love has also been a redemptive love, not just a removing love. A simple and a sentimental love might choose only to remove the pain, but a great, a wise, and a truly powerful love will take the very pain that was meant for evil, and it will redeem it, transforming it into something of immense and eternal value. My love for you is so powerful and so creative that it has been taking every single ounce of your suffering, every tear you have cried, every moment of your pain, and has been secretly and masterfully transforming that raw material into the priceless and eternal treasures of your character. From the pain of your failures, my love has been redeeming the beautiful treasure of humility. From the pain of your heartbreak, my love has been redeeming the glorious treasure of compassion. From the pain of your weakness, my love has been redeeming the powerful treasure of a new dependence on me. The suffering you have endured has not been a meaningless tragedy. It has been the very raw material that my wise and redemptive love has been using to make you into a masterpiece of my grace. And finally, you must understand that your suffering has proven the all-enduring nature of my love. Any love can seem to shine in the easy daylight of a life of comfort and of blessing. But only a true, a mighty, and an everlasting love can continue to shine in the deep and profound darkness of a life of suffering. Your season of affliction has been a great and a holy test. And what has it tested? It has not primarily been a test in your love for me. It has been a great and a glorious test of my love for you. And it has proven, beyond all shadow of a doubt, both to you and to all the watching universe, that my love does not fail when circumstances become difficult. It has proven that my love is not a fair-weather friend. It has proven that my love is a rugged, a powerful, a determined, and an all-enduring reality that, in fact, shines most brightly when the night of your life is at its very darkest. Therefore, I am now calling you to look back at your long and painful season of suffering with new and with enlightened eyes. You must, from this day forward, stop seeing your suffering as the evidence against my love for you, And you must begin by a courageous act of your faith to see it as the very arena, the very crucible, the very proving ground in which the true, the unconquerable, the unchangeable, and the eternal nature of my love for you has been most powerfully and most gloriously demonstrated and proven. You no longer have to just hope that my love for you is real. You now know that it is real, for it has been tested by the fiercest fires and the deepest waters of your own life, and it has not been consumed, and it has not been quenched. You now possess not a theoretical and a fragile love, but a tested, a proven, and a battle-hardened love. And now that you know that my love does not fade in the face of your failure or in the face of your pain, we must now speak of the final perceived barrier to our intimacy, the long and often confusing reality of my own silence. You have now begun to understand the great and glorious truth that my love for you is not a fragile, human emotion, but is the very unchangeable and eternal fire of my own divine being. You have seen with new and enlightened eyes how this unfading love has operated in the very face of your most shameful failures, and how it has been a constant and a sustaining presence in the midst of your most profound pain. But my beloved child, I know that there is one final and great piece of evidence that the accuser of your soul has used against my love, and it is perhaps his most convincing and most powerful argument of all. It is the evidence of my own silence. You have wondered, with a heart full of a deep and an honest confusion, my Father, if you love me so much, if your affection for me is so constant and so passionate, then why have you been so quiet for so long? Why have my most desperate prayers been met with a deafening silence? I know how you have experienced my silence. It has not felt like a peaceful or a holy quiet to you. It has felt like the ultimate and most painful form of indifference. It has felt like the cold shoulder of a friend who no longer wishes to speak to you. It has felt like the chilling quiet of an empty and an abandoned room, a quiet that has served only to confirm your deepest and most terrifying fear that you are, in the end, truly and completely alone. In your human world, a prolonged silence between two people who were once close is almost always a sign that the relationship is in great peril. It is a sign of unresolved anger, of a deep and a hidden wound, of a love that is fading into a cold and a distant memory. And you have, quite logically, applied this broken human model of relationship to me. And you have concluded that my silence must mean the same thing. You have believed that my silence had been a sign of my anger toward you, a sign of my withdrawal from you, and the ultimate proof that my love for you has faded. But my beloved child, you must now understand that my silence is of a completely different and a holy nature than the silence of men. The silence of a wounded man is often born from a lack of love, from a heart that has closed itself off. But my silence, the silence of your loving and eternal God, is always born from the very fullness of my love for you. My quietness toward you has not been the silence of indifference. It has been the quiet of a deep, a settled, and a profoundly secure love. It has not been a sign of my absence. It has, in fact, been the very atmosphere of my most intimate and constant presence with you. My quiet was not a sign of my absence. Let me now reveal to you the beautiful and loving reasons for the seasons of my silence. In your life, first, you must understand the silence of a confident teacher. A good and a confident teacher knows when to speak, and he knows when to be quiet after a lesson has been taught. A wise teacher will often step back and allow the student to wrestle with the problem on their own, for the teacher knows that it is in the struggle, in the quiet and focused effort of the student, that the lesson moves from being a mere piece of information in the head to becoming a true and a lasting understanding in the heart. My child, in the seasons of my silence, I have been your wise and confident teacher. I had already spoken my word to you. I had already given you my promises, and I was then, in a great act of my love and my confidence in you, giving you the sacred and the holy space to learn how to apply those truths, how to wrestle with them, and how to make them your own. My silence was not a sign that I had abandoned you. It was a profound sign of my deep respect for you and my complete confidence in the work that my own Holy Spirit was doing within you. It was a loving and a necessary act to bring you from spiritual infancy into a new and a glorious maturity. Next, you must understand the silence of a peaceful companion. In your world, two people who are new in their relationship or who are insecure with one another often feel the anxious need to fill every single moment with noise, with chatter, with constant conversation, with endless reassurances. The silence between them feels awkward and frightening. But two souls who have been together for a long time, who share a deep, a settled, and a profoundly secure love, have learned the beauty of being together in a perfect and a comfortable silence. Their deep and abiding companionship is not dependent on the volume or the frequency of their words. My beloved, I have often been silent in your life simply because I was enjoying the quiet and profound companionship of simply being with you. I was not absent from the room. I was sitting with you in a perfect and a restful peace. I have been teaching you that our intimacy is deeper than just our conversation. It is a union of spirits, and I have been inviting you out of a noisy and a performance-based relationship with me and into the deep, the quiet, and the restful intimacy of a truly secure and a mature love. You must also understand the silence that teaches a deeper listening. As we have spoken of, my primary voice, my most intimate voice, is a whisper. It is a still, small voice. And as long as you are filling your life with the loud and deafening noise of the world, and with the equally loud and deafening noise of your own frantic, desperate, and often shouting prayers, it was impossible for you to hear my gentle whisper. And so, at times, I have, in my great love for you, withheld the louder and more obvious answers to your prayers in order to create in your soul a great and a holy thirst. It was a thirst for my voice, a desperation to hear from me, and in that quiet and desperate thirst, you have finally, blessedly learned to become still. You have learned to quiet your own soul. You have learned to turn down the volume of all the other voices, and you have begun to listen with a new and a profound attentiveness for the quiet sound of my whisper. My silence was the necessary and the holy classroom in which you have finally learned the sacred and life-altering art of true, deep listening. And finally, you must know that my silence has often been the sound of my most intense work on your behalf. It has been the silence of a great and a masterful artist, completely and utterly absorbed in the intricate details of his work. It has been the silence of a great and a brilliant general, poring over the maps of the battlefield in his tent on the eve of a great and a decisive victory in the very seasons of my greatest silence toward you. I have often been at my most active on your behalf in the unseen realm, while you were feeling forgotten. I was busy arranging your future circumstances, while you were feeling abandoned. I was fighting your greatest spiritual battles for you, while you were feeling that your promise was being denied. I was meticulously and patiently preparing your breakthrough. I could not always explain to you everything that I was doing, for it was too grand and too complex for you to understand at the time. My silence toward you was not a sign of my inactivity on your behalf. It was the very sign that a great, a hidden, and a masterful work was underway. Therefore, I am now calling you to a complete and a total revolution in how you interpret my silence in your life. You must, from this day forward, stop seeing it as a sign of my rejection or of my indifference. You must, by a courageous act of your faith, learn to see my silence as an ultimate and most profound expression of my secure and confident love for you. Learn to rest in the quiet, knowing that it is not a place of my absence, but a place of my deepest presence and my most hidden and intricate work. My unfading love for you has been proven in the face of your failure. It has been proven in the midst of your pain, and has now been proven in the heart of my own silence. It is a constant, an eternal, and an unshakable reality. It is the very fire of my own being. And now that you know that my love for you is truly eternal, truly unconditional, and truly unfading, I must now make a final and a great covenant with you. A promise that will seal this glorious truth in your heart forever. We have now journeyed together, my beloved, through the deep and often painful valleys of your greatest fears concerning my love. You have seen with new and enlightened eyes that the eternal, self-generating fire of my own being is the true source of my love for you, a love that cannot fade. You now understand that your own personal failures have never diminished this love, but have only ever served to magnify the glorious power of my grace. You have seen that your seasons of suffering have not been a sign of my love's absence, but have been the very crucible in which my love's profound and unbreakable endurance has been proven. And you have come to understand that my silence toward you has not been the silence of indifference, but the quiet, confident, and deeply intimate presence of a secure and a loving Father. You now know that my love for you has not faded. But now, I must declare to you the great and glorious reason why it can never fade. For my love for you is not just a feeling that I have, however powerful. It is not just a force of my being, however constant. It is, in its highest and most holy expression, a covenant. It is a solemn and unbreakable and an eternal vow. And so now, my beloved child, I want you to come and to stand with me before the great and eternal altar of heaven. Let all the angels and the elders and the great, innumerable cloud of witnesses now bear witness to the sacred and the binding vow I now make to you. For this is not a mere promise that can be broken. It is a holy and a blood-sealed covenant between your God and you. I, the Lord, your God, the great I am, the everlasting Father, the one who is the same yesterday, today, and forever, the one who does not change like a shifting shadow, do hereby make an everlasting covenant with you. And the central promise of this covenant is this: the love that I have for you is not a temporary or a conditional affection. It is not based on your performance, and it is not subject to change. It is a love that has no beginning and a love that will have no end. It is a love that will never wane, will never grow cold, and will never, ever be taken from you. My promise to love you without end. You must understand the profound and unshakable nature of this divine covenant of love. First, you must know that this is a covenant that has been sealed in blood. In your world, a simple promise can be easily broken, but a covenant, in my kingdom, is the most sacred and the most binding of all bonds. And this great and glorious covenant of my love for you has been ratified and sealed with the most precious, the most powerful, and the most holy substance in the entire universe, the very blood of my own perfect and eternal Son, the Lamb of God. When he went to the cross, he was doing more than just dying for your sins. He was shedding his blood to inaugurate this new and this everlasting covenant of love between me and you. The very lifeblood of God himself is the holy and the indelible ink with which this covenant has been signed. Therefore, for my love for you to ever fail, the very blood of my Son would first have to fail and to lose its power. And that, my child, is an absolute and an eternal impossibility. Next, you must understand that this is an unconditional covenant. The old covenant that I made with my people of Israel was, in many ways, a conditional one. It was a covenant that was based on the formula of, if you will obey my commands, then I will bless you. And history has proven, time and time again, that humanity, in its weakness, is incapable of perfectly keeping its side of any bargain. But the new covenant of my love, the one you are now a part of, is of a different and a far more glorious nature. It is a completely unconditional covenant. Its promises are not based on your ability to be faithful, but on my own absolute and unshakable faithfulness. Its terms are not, I will love you if. The terms of this covenant are simply, I will love you, period. There's nothing you can do to make me love you more than I do in this very moment. And there's absolutely nothing you could ever do that would make me love you less. My love for you is not based on who you are or what you do. It is based entirely and completely on who I am. And I am love. This truth sets you free forever from the exhausting and impossible treadmill of trying to earn my affection. You must also know that this is an eternal covenant. This covenant of my love for you does not have an expiration date. It is a love that has existed for you in my heart from eternity past, and it will extend to you for all of eternity future. My love for you did not begin on the day that you first believed in me. No, my word is true, when it says that I have loved you with an everlasting love, that I chose you and knew you and loved you before the very foundation of the world. And my love for you will not end when your earthly body dies. Death will not be the end of our love story. It will simply be the doorway that ushers you into the fuller, the more glorious, and the face-to-face experience of the very same love that you have only known in part on this earth. My love for you is a love without a beginning and a love without an end. And finally, you must know that this is a covenant of a father's delight. This is not merely a cold and a legal covenant of divine obligation. It is not me, the great king, begrudgingly vowing to care for a lowly subject. No, this is a joyful and a passionate covenant of a father's delight in his own cherished child. I have, by this vow, bound myself not just to forgive you and to provide for you and to protect you. I have bound myself by a holy and a joyful oath to enjoy you. It is my eternal promise to always see you as my beloved child, to rejoice over you with singing, and to take a profound and a personal pleasure in your unique and beautiful being. I have, in this covenant, sworn to be your greatest champion, your most passionate admirer, and your most faithful and loving friend, forever. Therefore, my beloved child, the long, the anxious, and the exhausting work of your life, the work of trying to earn and to secure the love of your God, is now completely and utterly over. You can stop striving. You can stop performing. You can stop worrying. You can stop fearing. The great matter of my love for you has now been finally and eternally settled, and has been settled not by your own fragile promises, but by my own unbreakable covenant, sealed in the very blood of heaven. Your only work now, for the rest of your life, is to learn how to rest in this great and glorious covenant. It is to learn how to live every single day as one who is completely, unshakably, and extravagantly loved. The great central fire of my own being, which is love, will never be extinguished. The eternal sun of my affection for you will never grow cold. The artesian well of my grace will never run dry, and the covenant that I have made with you will never be broken. You are safe, you are cherished, and you are loved with an everlasting love. And now that you know, with an absolute and an eternal certainty, that this unfading love is your true and your permanent reality, we must now speak of how you are to live in this new and this glorious security. The great and final covenant has been made. It has been spoken in the courts of heaven, and it has been sealed with the precious and eternal blood of the Lamb. It is the most secure and the most unshakable reality in the entire universe. And the promise of this covenant is this: the love I have for you will never fade. But, my beloved child, a great inheritance, even when it is legally and eternally yours, brings no daily joy if the heir does not know how to live in it, how to access its riches, and how to rest in its security. You have spent your entire life practicing the hard and exhausting art of striving to be loved. You must now, by my grace, learn the new and far more glorious art of simply resting in the love that is already and forever yours. We must now speak of how to rest in unfading love. I know that this is a great and a profound challenge for you, for every single fiber of your being, and every single lesson this fallen and broken world has ever taught you has been about earning your way. You have had to earn your grades in school. You have had to earn your salary at your work. You have had to earn the approval and the affection of other people through your constant performance. And so, the very concept of receiving something so priceless, so glorious as my perfect and unfading love, completely for free, with no strings attached, feels unnatural to you. It feels irresponsible. It can even feel wrong. Your soul has been so deeply and so thoroughly trained in the harsh and unforgiving economy of earning that it does not yet know how to operate in the beautiful and liberating economy of grace. You have, for so long, thought of your striving, your religious effort, your self-discipline as your great spiritual work. But I am now giving you a new and a greater work. It is the holy and the sacred discipline of receiving. It is the courageous and at times difficult act of ceasing from all your own frantic and exhausting efforts to make yourself lovable, and to simply, quietly, and gratefully allow yourself to be loved. This is the art of receiving what is freely given. How do you practice this new and restful way of life? It is learned through the gentle and the daily practice of several new disciplines of the heart. First, you must learn the holy discipline of abiding. My own son taught you this great and simple secret when he walked the earth. He said, "Abide in my love." What does it mean to abide? It means to make my love your home. It means to make it your constant and your conscious dwelling place. It is a deliberate and a conscious choice that you can make every single morning of your life, to wake up and to remind your own soul of its true and eternal address. It is the choice to say, with a quiet and a firm conviction, "Today, I will live and move and have my being in the reality of my Father's unfading love." It is the practice of intentionally marinating your thoughts, your emotions, and all of your decisions in the beautiful and powerful truth of my constant affection for you. Abiding is not striving. It is the peaceful and the restful act of simply remaining in the beautiful and secure place where you already are. Next, you must learn the discipline of actively receiving my affection. My love for you is not just a static, legal, or a theological status. It is a constant, a dynamic, and a living flow of affection, of delight, of goodness, and of blessing that is always moving in your direction. And you must now learn to open your heart and to actively receive this flow. This means that you must learn to see the small, good, and beautiful things that happen in your day, the beauty of a sunset, the kindness of a stranger, a moment of unexpected peace, a word of encouragement, not as random accidents, but as personal and intimate love notes from me to you. It means learning to receive a compliment or a kind word from another person as a word that I am speaking to you through them. You must learn to tune the ear of your heart to the quiet frequency of my daily affection for you. And when you perceive it, you must learn to say, with a simple and a grateful heart, "Thank you, Father. I receive that love." You must stop deflecting these small tokens of my affection with a false humility or a sense of your own unworthiness. You must also learn to walk in the glorious freedom of an unprovable love. You have been so exhausted for so many years by the constant and relentless need to prove your love for me and to prove your worthiness to be loved by me. But a great, a true, and a covenantal love, an unfading love like mine, does not need to be constantly proven. It simply is. And so, I am now officially releasing you from the heavy and impossible burden of your religious performance. You are free to fail. You are free to be weak. You are free to be imperfect. Because my love for you is not, and has never been, based on your performance. You are gloriously free to simply be my child, knowing with an absolute certainty that on your best days and on your very worst days, my love for you remains exactly the same, infinite, eternal, and gloriously unfading. And finally, you will discover that as you learn to rest in and to receive my unfading love, you will be empowered to love others from a full well. In the past, you had tried to love the people in your life out of your own empty and depleted emotional well. And it has been an exhausting, a frustrating, and an unsustainable effort. But now, as you learn to live in this new reality, as you learn to rest in my unfading love, and to constantly and consciously receive it into your own heart, you will find that your own inner well of love will become full and will then begin to overflow. And you will discover a new and a glorious secret. You will begin to love the people around you, not with your own finite, fragile, and often conditional human love, but with the very supernatural overflow of the infinite and unfading love that I have for you. Your love for others will no longer be an exhausting striving. It will become a natural, a joyful, and an effortless byproduct of your simply being loved by me. As you learn to practice these simple but profound disciplines of the heart, the old anxiety and the frantic striving of your orphan heart will begin to be replaced by the deep, the restful, and the joyful security of a cherished and a beloved child. You will finally learn to live your life, not for my love, but from my love. And this, my beloved child, will change everything. And so, my beloved, who now rests in a love that can never, ever fade, our great and beautiful journey of revelation has now come to its close. From the cold and lonely fear that my love for you had grown distant, you have come to understand the fiery, eternal nature of my own being. You have seen how my grace has met you in your failure, how my presence has sustained you in your pain, and how my silence has been the sound of my deep and secure affection. You have stood with me at the altar of heaven, and you have received my unbreakable covenant of everlasting love. And now, you have the simple, the gentle, and the joyful instructions for how to live out the rest of your days in the profound and peaceful security of that love. I want you to see yourself now as a cherished child, living in your Father's house. The doors of the house have been locked from the inside, not to keep you in, but to keep all fear and all condemnation out. Their fire in their hearth is burning brightly, and it will never go out. There's a great and a wonderful feast that is always on the table, and there's no fear of ever being cast out into the cold. This is your home. This is your reality. This is your forever. Rest now in this love, my child. It is your home. It is your life. It is your eternal and unshakable truth.